Hello, little ones. My name is Gregory, and today I'm here with Teddy, and I'm going to be reading from Chee's Adventures number 4. And it's going to be Chee Fights Back. Are you ready? Right. Chee is a vervet monkey who lives on the beautiful island of St. Kitts, just across from Montserrat. He and two of his brothers once found a garden filled with their favorite fruit. There was nothing they loved more than to spend their days playing in the trees and eating. When the monkeys discovered the garden, no one lived in the house, so they roamed freely eating the mangoes, soursops, guavas, and bananas. But all that had changed. A family of humans had moved into the house, and a boy was picking all of the fruit except for the papa. The papa. Those people are eating all our fruit, Chee said, walking in circles as he always did when he was upset. Ma, his older brother, was chewing on a mango seed. Well, he said between chews, it was a great while it lasted. It was great while it lasted. We just need to find another garden, that's all. But it was so good, wailed John, the youngest brother. Yes, said Chee. I am not giving up. They have no right, he raised his voice a little, no right to take over our garden. Well, it wasn't really our fruit, Ma began, but Chee had already stomped away. After a few minutes, he returned. It's simple, he cried, slapping John on the back. Why didn't I think of it before? We just have to get there early every morning and pick the fruit before they do. Ha ha. Ma laughed. You wake up early every morning? You're always the last one to get up, and then only because Mama wakes you. Chee frowned. Well, I did it before. I got up early and I went to the garden and I saw who was stealing our fruit, he said indignantly. And I can do it again. Ma replied, okay, if you say so. I'll wake you up when the sun rises tomorrow. That evening, the monkeys told their mother of the plan. Then Ma yawned. I am going to bed now so I can wake up early, he said. Are you coming, Chee? Chee was playing with his younger sisters, tickling them until they rolled on the ground, laughing. He didn't hear Ma's question and he didn't answer. Ma shrugged, climbed up to his spot in their sleeping tree and went to sleep. Chee stayed up late. He took his younger sister for rides on his back, and then, after she was put to bed, he played with John. The next morning, Ma woke up early as they planned. He climbed over to where Chee slept and shook him. Chee did not stir. Ma shook him harder. Chee gave a slight groan, rolled over, and went back to sleep. Ma shook him harder. Chee reached out and slapped Ma hard on the hand. Leave me alone, he muttered. Ma was not pleased about being slapped. He left Chee, went back to his spot, and fell asleep again. The sun was high in the sky when Chee finally awoke. He rubbed his eyes and looked up at the sun. He sat up and scampered down the tree to to where Ma sat cleaning himself. "Why didn't you wake me?" Chee demanded. Ma replied calmly, "I tried, but you slapped me, so I stopped trying." "I slapped you?" Chee asked in surprise. "Yes, you did," Ma replied. "I'm so sorry. I guess I stayed up too late and now I've missed my chance to eat from our garden again." Chee wandered around feeling sad for a while. But it wasn't long before he had another brilliant idea. He ran to his brothers. "I've got it," he cried. "What have you got?" Ma snapped, still a little upset about being slapped that morning. "I know we can get some fruit, or at least stop them from picking from one of the trees." "What's your favorite fruit, Ma?" "You know I love mangoes," Ma replied, licking his lips. "Okay, here's what we do, or we need to do." And Chee whispered in Ma's ear. As Chee spoke, Ma's small black eyes opened wider and wider until they looked like they would pop out of his head. When Chee was finished, Ma began to laugh. He stepped away from his brother and laughed until he had to hold his stomach. Each time he managed to stop laughing, he looked at Chee's face and laughed again. "That's the most ridiculous idea I have ever heard," he said when he was finally able to speak. "No, it's not," Chee insisted. "It's brilliant. They'll never go near the mango tree again." "It won't work," Ma insisted. "Yes, it will. Just wait and see. I'll do it with or without your help," Chee answered. Okay, I'll help. It will be worth it just to watch what happens," said Ma. So that afternoon, as the sun was setting, Chee, Ma, and John roamed the yard of a house that was being built. They got the things they needed: 2 scrapped pieces of wood, 2 old nails, and a can of paint that was almost empty. They nailed the 2 pieces of wood together to make a small signpost. Then Chee dipped a finger into the paint can and drew on the sign. He stepped back to admire his handiwork, then stepped forward and added one more detail: an arrow pointing upwards. "Perfect," he said, stepping back again. "Now let's get ready for bed. I cannot oversleep this time." The 3 monkeys went to bed, and despite their excitement about their plan for the next day, they soon fell asleep. Fast asleep. Early next morning, they carried the sign to their garden and pushed it into the soil under the mango tree. They picked the ripe mangoes and hid them in a corner of the garden. Next, they picked a handful of ripe peppers. They climbed up into the mango tree and hid, watching and waiting. So the little boy who lived in the house came out with a stick. The stick had a hook on the end and of it so it was perfect for picking fruit. The monkeys had heard his mother call the boy Mark the first time they saw him in the garden. Mark stopped at the foot of the mango tree and his eyes widened in surprise. He had noticed Chee's sign. He knelt down to get a closer look at the crudely painted sign and read it out loud. "Papa tree," he read. Mark got to his feet and looked up into the tree. Then he looked around to see who put the sign there. He saw no one, so he poked the stick into the tree and moved it around, hoping to snag a hidden mango. When the stick was close to Chee, the monkey slipped a pawpaw over the hook. Mark felt the stick was heavy and lowered it to retrieve his mango. To his surprise, he found a bright yellow pawpaw dangling on the end of his stick. Mark looked in amazement from the tree to the hook and back to the tree. The monkeys tried their very best not to laugh. Mark took the pawpaw off the hook and pushed the stick back into the tree. He moved it around again, and this time it was Ma who hooked a pawpaw onto the stick. Slowly, Mark pulled the stick down, and when he saw the pawpaw, he dropped it and ran to his house. Chee, Ma, and John laughed and chattered in delight. "Shh," Ma said urgently, as he spotted Mark coming back, this time with his mother. Mark's mother picked up the stick and pushed it up in the tree. This time, John, giggling softly, tried to hook the pawpaw, one of his pawpaws, onto the stick. His arms were filled, and two of the pawpaws he held slipped out of his hand, out of his grip, one by one. The first fell at Mark's mother's feet. She looked up into the tree, her mouth open. The second pawpaw slipped from John's arms just at that moment. "Are you okay, Mommy?" Mark asked. "Yes," she replied, wiping the pawpaw from her face. "But who threw pawpaw at me?" Mark looked up and spotted John in the tree. "It's a monkey," he said. "Run!" shouted Chee, and the three monkeys darted out of their garden, ran through the neighboring garden, and headed home. That's the end. Good night, Montserrat.